Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter from Berkshire Paint and Sip, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. So today we're going to be painting fireworks over a lake, and I'm going to be sipping a little Pinot Noir. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. So the materials that we're going to be using today is a 16 by 20 stretched prime canvas. You can get it at any of your local craft stores or online. You can certainly switch up the size, but I'm going to be using a 16 by 20. We're going to be using acrylic paints. The colors that I'm using is Mars Black, Titanium White, Deep Yellow, Fire Red, Fluorescent Green, Fluorescent Violet, and Cobalt Blue. And again, you can certainly switch up these colors, but those are the exact ones I'm using. You're going to need a cup of water for washing your brushes. You'll need a paper towel for drying your brushes. And the three brushes that I'm going to be using today is a Bristle Fan Brush. This is a number 6 round synthetic brush. And this is a 1-inch wide bristle brush. And that is all we're gonna need for our supplies today. All right, so the first step that we're gonna be doing is we're painting the entire canvas. We're gonna be using black paint, and we're gonna be using our 1-inch wide bristle brush. And there is no fancy technique to this. I am just painting the canvas all the way black. You can paint the edges or the sides of your canvas as you go along. You'll see that I typically will do that just because it gives my painting a nice finished look. You could do circles, you could do X's. You can see I'm just kind of going as quickly as I can, just because this is not the most exciting step for you guys to watch. But it definitely has to be done. I'm just going to be painting the whole thing black. I do put a good amount of paint on my brush just so I can spread it a far way. But you'll find your rhythm as you go along. It's not a difficult step at all. It just takes a couple of minutes to complete. And again, I'm going to paint my edges as I go along. I do want to kind of keep a consistent brush stroke. So if you start going left to right, don't all of a sudden switch and do circles halfway, because you will be able to detect that kind of change. So you do want to just kind of keep consistently with whatever brush stroke you decide to use. Just kind of use it throughout the whole thing. And you'll notice as I go along, I do kind of every now and again you'll see me giving a full stroke across the canvas, something like this. What that's doing is it is thinning out any really thick spots that I might have, allowing for my paint to dry on a more rapid pace than if I had really thick spots to contend with. So I do quite frequently throughout this process, you'll see me going back over a spot that I've already done, and that's primarily just to get out those really thick spots, and it's also to make sure that I've covered the canvas all the way. Because sometimes with these bristle brushes, they might leave a little bit of what I refer to as scratch marks because they are a firm bristle. Black does penetrate the canvas really well, so the likelihood of you actually seeing them is not all too great, but sometimes you will notice them. So by doing that full stroke back and forth, you can eliminate those marks. I guess I'm gonna have to move my wine glass just for a minute here because it seems to be in my way in this little corner, but I'll put it back so it's in an easily reachable spot for me throughout this process. But again, I'm just kind of finishing up here, going left to right, making sure my brush stroke remains consistent throughout the entire canvas. And then once I'm all said and done, I'm gonna just kind of go back over, make sure I didn't miss any spots, make sure I'm thinning out any really thick spots. And then for the next step, we're gonna be using that number 6 round brush. So you can put this big brush away in your water cup, and you can take out your number 6 brush and get ready for the next step. Okay, so the next step we're going to be using our number 6 brush. We are going to be creating the horizon and the little cityscape in the almost the center of your canvas. I'm going to be using white, yellow, and red. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to first find a location where I want to do it. For me, I like to put it below my halfway mark, or perhaps about 1/3 of the way up your canvas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with white paint, and I'm going to make a line or a dot on my right hand side of my canvas. I want this line to be pretty kind of straight as it goes along. So what I'll do is I'll use my brush as a measuring tool, and I'm going to come over to the right hand side, and I'm going to make myself a mark in the same spot. So now I know that I've got a pretty firm horizon line where it's not going to be tipping, you know, super to the left or the right or down. And then you saw that I'm just going left to right, and I'm doing almost like a little broken line going across, or dashes. Now I'm picking up a little bit of yellow, I'm adding that yellow into it, and I'm just going left to right. I'm not doing any fancy brush strokes. I now am adding red to it. And once I get about 1 inch high is kind of the distance that I'm going on this, then I'm going to start making polka dots for my city. So I added white paint to my brush, and I just want this to be the illusion of like city lights off in the distance. You can do them systematically, or like I like to do them a little chaotic. So maybe I have some taller buildings and some shorter buildings. They don't all have to be in a perfect row. Maybe I have a little cluster over here. So again, I start with white, now I'm going into yellow, and I do not wash my brush throughout this process. And again, I'm just making these polka dots with the tip of my brush. And then once I get some yellow ones on here, you can again make some bigger clustered ones if you want to. Once I get yellow ones, now I'm going to go and I'm going to put some red ones. And you can make this as nice and neat and organized as you want, or you can keep it with just this representational kind of cityscape that I'm doing here. But the way that I'm doing it is on the easier side, just because you don't really have to think about it too much. You just kind of make these various clusters of the lights. But again, you can really get it as detailed as you want, or as gentle as I've done it. And then once you're all set, we are going to be switching brushes back to the large bristle brush. So you can put this number 6 brush away in your water cup and wash and dry your bristle brush in preparation for the next step. All right, so for the next step, we're going to be doing the glow that is underneath our fireworks. I'm going to be using my bristle brush. I will be using all of the colors on my palette except for white and black. So this is where you get to be creative and use these colors. You don't have to put them in the same order that I'm putting them in. You can certainly be creative as you'd like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with red, and I want a red glow up here. Because I'm not using white, acrylic paint will be very translucent, and as this dries, it's going to get a lot darker. So just know that whatever it looks like when it's wet, that's much brighter than it's going to be when it's dry. And I'm just kind of dabbing it on here. I'm not doing it really, in any particular brush stroke, just kind of dabbing it. I need to make a reflection of this glow too. So I'm going to come all the way down, and wherever I decide to put this one, it's going to dictate everything else has to be in line with each other. So for here, I'm going to come pretty far down here, and instead of doing the dotting, I'm going to actually go left to right. So I'm going left to right, and this does not have to be a mirror image, but you do definitely want it to be of similar size. It's meant to look like a reflection. I want a couple other red ones, so I'm not going to wash my brush at this time. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, for me, I'm going to have a couple of shooting fireworks up and through here, and I want them to have a red glow underneath them. So I'm going to just put a little bit of red glow here, and then what I'll do is I'm going to come down into the water right below it, and I'm going to do the same thing, left to right for that glow, maybe a little bit bigger. One there and one here. The trick to the reflections is just go left to right instead of, don't go diagonally. That kind of puts like you're on a ship kind of thing. And so I want to switch colors right now, so I'm going to wash and dry my brush. Just a quick rinse and dry on your paper towel. So now I'm going to go into blue, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big blue one up in this corner up here, and again, you can make these as big or as small as you want, but this is just the glow that's going to be underneath those fireworks. So then again, I know that this is going to come down in this bottom corner, so I do know that it's kind of along the same playing field as this one over here, so my reflection is going to mimic that, and it's going to be about the same height as this one, so that way I can keep it consistent with where those fireworks are placed. And I'm going to want another shooting one over here in blue, so I'm just going to use a little bit of the blue to make that glow underneath this one. And then of course I need that matching reflection. So for me, that's going to be my matching reflection. I want to switch colors again, so I'm just quickly washing and drying my brush. I'm going to go, oops, almost just dropped my paper towel. I'm going to go into my purple. I'm going to put a purple one in through here. And again, you know, this is going to dry really dark, so you can, you know, kind of be bold with the application here. I want my reflection to mimic the location of this one, so I know it's between here and here, so that's where this reflection is going to go. And then I think that's going to be it for my purple one, so I'm going to give myself a quick wash and dry again. Now I'm going to go into my green. I'm going to do a green reflection, or a green glow, right kind of dead center in my canvas here. And then I'm going to go down below and make that reflection. So again, I'm keeping it in the correct spot in relation to the other fireworks. So I know it's got to go between these two. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to go left to right. And I'm going to make my reflection there. And then for me, I think I'm just going to do maybe one more with the yellow paint. So I'm going to give myself a quick wash and dry again. And I've got the yellow paint I'm going to go into, and I'm going to put this one right in through here. And again, I'm just kind of dabbing it. And I don't know if you're noticing, but my other ones are turning darker as they dry, and that's just what's going to happen. And again, I'm going to do my reflection right down here in line with these. So this is going to go left to right like this. And then for the next step, we are going to be using that fan brush that you have, but you definitely want this layer to dry. So if you want, you know, you can just sit and sip and socialize and relax while it's drying. But if you want to speed up that process, you can certainly dry it with a blow dryer. And then after it's dry, you can get ready by getting out your fan brush and getting prepared for the next step. All right, so for the next step, what we're going to be doing is we're adding the highlight to the fireworks. We're going to be using your fan brush, and I'm going to be using every color except for black. And again, you get to be creative and customize these colors as you see fit. What I'm going to be doing is, for me, I like my fireworks to be multicolored. So I'm going to be using whatever color I decide as the accent color plus white to get this beautiful burst of fireworks. So for this first one, I'm going to be using yellow and white. So I put a little bit of yellow and white on the corner of my fan brush. And what I do is, for me, I decide where I want that burst to come from. So you could do it in the center, or you could do it to the side, or wherever you want. And then I start doing these almost like little strokes or wispy feathering with this brush, just with the corner of the brush, and I'm constantly reminding myself that I want it to come from the center. So I just added a little bit more paint onto my brush because I was running out, and you can hear it kind of almost like scraping as it's coming. And you can also do what I refer to as like those little fiery pieces that are falling. But you want this to be nice and bold and, you know, like a grand finale kind of appearance. And once you do these like feathery kind of strokes, then what I do is I'm going to take primarily white and that other color, and I dot the inside or the center of it with, you know, some brightness, so more white than anything. And then you can also dot some of the edges of these to almost look like those little like spirally things that come out of the firework. And then I'm going to take these same colors and I'm going to put them in the reflection. So the reflection again is just going to be your brush going left to right over that glow that you put there initially. And it shouldn't take you more than about a couple of seconds to do that reflection. And then you decide which one do I want to go to next. So I'm using white and yellow. So I think I want to use white and yellow and red on this one. So I'm not going to wash my brush. I'm just going to go decide where I want my center to be. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the center, but you definitely want the burst to come out from a central location. So if it's, you know, it could be off to the side if you want it to, but you want those these pieces to come right out of one spot, because that will make them look like they belong. And then once I have my burst as big as I want it to be, then I'm going to take that white paint and I'm going to make my dots in the middle, and then if I wanted to, I could make these little like sparkles coming out. And speaking of sparkles, if you wanted to, you could totally put sparkles on this, but you know, that's your call. And then again, I wanted to a little red, but I forgot. So I'm just improving now and sticking a little bit of red in here. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to use these same colors right in that reflection. And you can see I'm just quickly going left to right. Takes me a couple of seconds to do the reflection, and that's it on the reflection. So now I gotta decide what I want to do next, and I think I want to do some blue and white for these ones, maybe some purple. So I'm going to wash and dry my fan brush, and now I'm going to put blue and white on the corner of my fan brush. And for me, this one I'm going to have coming up and almost like shooting up. So that's the direction that I'm putting these strokes into. And you can have it as tall, you can have little pieces coming out, you can have it nice and bright if you wanted to. And then once I've got the feathery or the spray of the firework, that's when I can come back and use that white paint to get these like little sparkly pieces coming off the edge. This doesn't have a center like these guys do, to do that like burst from the center, but you can certainly improvise. And now I'm going to use the blue and white, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to make my little reflection. Again, this shouldn't take you but a couple of seconds to do that little reflection. And now I still want to use, for me, I'm going to use blue and white in this one here, but I am also going to use purple. So I don't have to wash my brush, I just have the blue and white on my brush right now. And I'm going to start coming here. My center of my firework is going to be right here, so I know all of my bursts are going to come in that direction or out from that point. And I'm going to just make this as big as I want it to be. I am going to add some of my fluorescent purple as well. And again, you can make these little ones that are falling down if you want to, like the little ones that are disconnected. And then once I have as much on there as I want, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just white on my brush. I'm going to get that really bright burst in the center like this with just a whole bunch of polka dots. Then I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna put some of those sparkle pieces coming off the edges. And then I'm gonna take these same colors and I'm gonna put it in my reflection down here. So I'm just gonna take my brush with the colors that are already on it and just kind of go left to right. I think I want to add a little bit more blue because it looks pretty white dominating to me. I'm just going back and forth, left to right. And then I've got a couple more that I want to do here. So they're gonna have a different color palette to them. So I'm gonna wash and dry my brush. And for me, I'm gonna go green and white on this one. So I'm gonna put a little bit of green and a little bit of white on my brush at the same time. Same thing, this is all just a real repetitive step that we're doing. So I have the green and white on my brush on the corner. And sometimes this, the fan brush takes a little while for you to get used to. So if you want to, you can always like practice on a piece of paper, or you can practice on an old canvas that that you had lying around. But sometimes it takes a couple of times to just get used to what it's doing. I just picked up white because I'm going into that center burst right now. And now I'm gonna do a couple of those sparkles on the edges. And then I'm gonna take my green and white, I'm gonna come down into this firework right here. And I'm just gonna go left to right for that reflection. And then I have one more to do, and it's this one right here. This has a purple glow. So I think I'm gonna do green and white and purple, so I don't have to wash my brush because I already have green and white on it. So I'm gonna start with my green and white coming out. Again, I've got both colors on my brush at the same time. And you really just wanna kind of control and just use the corner of that brush. You can see that I'm starting to overlap other fireworks, which is totally fine because that's what happens. And the more they overlap and the more they look like they are in that same sky, the more it's going to look like it's maybe the grand finale, and it's a really powerful, nice firework. I do want to add some purple here, so a little bit of purple. And again, this is a preference on the colors. You could have red, white, and blue as your firework colors. You could really, go to town and make it as personal as you want. You can put your own favorite colors in there. You can just mimic mine and go with the color palette that I've chosen. But it is really a fun painting. Oh, I forgot I have those two over there too. It's really a fun painting to do what you want with the colors. So I'm going to take this color palette, come down into my reflection, just go a little left to right, add a touch more green on here, and then I have these two that I forgot. So I'm gonna wash and dry my brush. And for me, I'm just gonna use yellow, white, and red. So theoretically, I could have gone from this one to this one because those are the same colors. But right now I'm gonna put red, yellow, and white on my brush at the same time. And this is gonna be similar to these, where I'm gonna just kind of shoot it up and out, up and out. These ones really look like they're on fire because of the red in them, the red and the yellow. And if I don't want this one to be too much the same as that, I'm gonna use more red in it, so that way it will kind of dominate, maybe look like it's in front of that one. I'm gonna use a little bit of white to brighten it up here, and then I will add some little sparkles to the ends of it, which you could put more white on your brush, but I know that I had some white from just doing this one. And then I'm gonna go do that reflection. So I just wanna reload my brush a little bit here. I'm gonna go left to right in this reflection with the same colors that are on up here. And then that is going to finish the firework part, and we have one tiny little step left, which is the last step in any painting. So you're gonna put your fan brush away, take out your small pointy brush, and get ready for the final step. All right, so the last step to any painting is to sign it. I usually sign mine in the bottom left or the bottom right. You could certainly sign yours wherever you want. And this painting is so colorful, you could sign it with whatever color you want. If you wanted it to be subtle, you could go black inside one of your fireworks. But I think I'm going to be a little bit more bold, so I'm going to go with some white and yellow, and I'm going to sign it down here. You can sign your initials, you can sign the date, you can sign your first name, whatever works for you. It's your own little identifying mark, so you can make it your own. So that's going to conclude this fireworks painting, fireworks over a lake. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you love your painting, and I look forward to painting with you again sometime.